I'm just going to do it. Welcome to Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast. I am your host, Dave West, codename Phantom Troublemaker.
And I'm your co-host, Noel Wood, codename Crapshoot.
And I'm your Cobra intern with Battlematic Action, codename Legion Cub.
Oh my gosh, are we having the same thing again?
Are we not broadcasting, but we are broadcasting?
I see us.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I've got the YouTube app open. Hey, everybody.
Frozen up. Hi, everyone. It's fine. Don't worry. We're live, and this is all good. There it is. So we've really got to figure out. I've really got to get that StreamYard going. Is the lesson that we're learning from these past couple of live streams. So we do not have a whole lot of news, but we do fortunately have a ton of sound offs that we're going to discuss later in the show. If you don't know, our sound off feature is on Audible Interlude Podcast on Instagram. Go follow it now. And every time we're going to do a live stream, we'll have a sound off post that gives you the opportunity to tell us what you want us to talk about or ask a question or whatever. So we'll get to that later in the show. We got some good ones to talk about this evening. I'm going to see if I can get this to work again. So my review of the Python Crimson Guard goes up. It focused before when we were talking. Goes up tomorrow right here on the Needless Things YouTube channel. And I put the Kamakura head on it because I'm just going to have one of these guys. And I wanted him to have a really unique look. So I thought this was the way to go. I dug it. But the full review will be up on here tomorrow. And then old Tiger Force Dusty, that review is probably going to end up being next week. But pretty happy with that guy. So there you go. That's the stuff that's sitting behind me that I'm going to show you now. There's more stuff sitting behind me that I'm going to show you later. Fellas, how are we doing in the world of in a post San Diego Comic-Con announcement world?
I'm still waiting for a few things to get announced that we saw at San Diego that a certain company is just remaining silent about.
Well, I think because we suspected, hey, what's up, chat? We got Kevin Riddle and Captain Speedy in there. We kind of speculated on our San Diego Comic-Con episode that they really wanted to focus on Cat Slayer, which met its goal.
Yeah.
Met its early bird goal, no less.
Yeah. A lot faster than I thought.
Yes, me too. So that's very cool. I am not getting one regardless. I'm just not spending that money. If I were going to dump, I would love to have it, but it's easy to say I don't have the space for it. I don't have the space for anything, but we figure it out, right?
You got a ceiling.
Yes,
because that's where the Cat Slayer belongs.
You can hang up the Cat Slayer.
Do you have 5 feet of clear space on your ceiling, or are we gonna have to move some chips around?
I really don't.
Right.
So, if I was going to get anything right now, I'd get the Ghost. Like if I had that chunk of change to throw at something, it would be the Ghost, because a vintage collection is my for anybody that stuck around. After our G.I. Joe coverage of San Diego Comic-Con, we talked about lots of other toy lines as well. That's only available here on the channel. We did not publish the audio version of that because that was specifically a Needless Things conversation. But if everybody enjoyed it, we can do more of that in the future. So yeah, the mothership, the Super 7 mothership.
The mothership
was just, kind of out there.
But I know people are going crazy about the mothership.
Craig Dukas
actually talking about the trouble bubbles.
No, the trouble bubble. Well, we're going to be able to get some trouble bubbles because Craig Dukas just jumped into the super chat.
Super chat.
I'm just kidding. That's not for trouble bubbles. That's for StreamYard because as everybody saw at the top of the show, we need it. So I'm going to add that to our StreamYard tally. We're getting closer with every live stream. Thank you so much. And speaking of which, another good way to help the show out. It's not like we make a ton of money on the shirts, but we just want to see people representing the show. We have a wide selection of shirts and other merchandise. Go to that Audible Interlude podcast Instagram. We've got links to our TeePublic store where you can get phone cases and all kinds of other stuff, but also, of course, t-shirts. Got lots of different ones. If you saw the opening trailer that came on before we went live for the Visit Beautiful Braca Beach t-shirt, that was designed by our pal Slickalicious. So also check out Shop Slickalicious on Instagram for tons of awesome, cool designs. So yeah, but the main thing is we just want people, representing Audible Interlude out there in the world. And somebody can ask you, hey, what's that? Yes, and well dressed. Look how nice that is.
We don't want a bunch of shirtless people hanging around.
No shirt, no shoes, no Audible.
Your Dr.
No dice.
That's right. Speaking of the Needless Things YouTube channel, okay, here's the other thing. I did something a little different last week. I did a feature called "But Is the Camo Better, Brother?" And I compared this new Mattel Hulk Hogan figure with incredible camouflage pants. Four colors, you guys. 4 different colors in that detailed, distinct, contrasting camouflage. Look at that. Look at that Hogan. That's America's butt right there. So I compared this Hulk Hogan. I reviewed it and compared it to some of the camouflage classified figures to see how they stacked up, and the results were surprising. So check that out. That video is available on the Needless Things YouTube channel. Our schedule, the audio version of this episode will be available this Friday, wherever you get your podcast. And then our regular audio episode where we do reviews, talk about the toys and stuff, just segments, are available the Friday after that. And our next live stream will be on August the 14th. After that, you guys know what's happening in September, right? Beginning of September, Audible Interlude podcast live at Dragon Con. That's right. I've been hey, Nope. What's up, Nope? Love the show, gents. You probably have already talked about it, but favorite Joe release in June, July. Keep up the awesome work. We have talked about it, but we can certainly revisit it for a super chat.
Super chat.
All right. Oh, Rich Murphy's in the chat. Agent Chuckles is here. Oh, we got a lot of people checking in. Streamlabs cash. I don't think Brian Flynn has space for a cat slayer. Well, if you watch his videos, he doesn't. Agent Chuckles can't stay. Just wanted to say hello and yo, Joe, Agent Chuckles.
He's got an undercover mission to take care of some.
Yeah, that's
somewhere.
right. That's well. Hopefully, put a stake on that face. It'll help out. Neil Hill, that's Shui. Indeed, it is Neil Hill. So, okay. Favorite Joe release in not reveal, release in June, July. So out of what's come out recently, what do you guys, what's the top of your shelf?
Oh, well, that one's easy for me. Scrap Iron.
Yeah.
Well, you would think it would be Shipwreck, and he is mighty awesome, but Rock and Roll is, and Scrap Iron completely blew me away as well, but Rock and Roll right now is the figure I cannot stop. I can't get enough photos of.
Well, good news, folks. I just got an email telling me they just shipped my Rock and Roll and Scrap Iron. Apparently from an email server 3 weeks in the past.
Hasbro Pulse is getting it together eventually. Look, I'd rather get the products now and the emails in 2 weeks than vice versa. So at least if they're going to get things wrong, I'd rather them be in that order. For me, it's also Rock and Roll. Scrap Iron is unbelievable. But Rock and Roll, a big element of why I like that one so much is because I wasn't that excited about it.
Yeah, that one I had low expectations on.
Yeah,
and I actually did not buy it initially. It wasn't until I went back and watched the video where they unveiled it that I was like, okay, I think I have to buy him now.
Yeah, it's when something comes out and it's as awesome as you think it's going to be, that's really great. And that's what Scrap Iron was. But when something comes out and it's way better than you think, then that gets a little extra gas on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So 2 Rock and Rolls and 1 Scrap Iron. What about you guys in the chat? Who was Oh, Neil Hill Snow Job is amazing also. Well, we don't all have Snow Job yet, Neil. That's awesome that you do though. It's what else have you gotten? Are you getting them like from overseas, or are you overseas? And everybody in the chat, what is your favorite out of the last couple of months? What's the one that's really blown you away? I'd love to hear from you guys too. Nope. Rock and Roll was my very first Joe action figure way back in the day. Nice.
Awesome.
Nice. All right. So we do have some news to talk about. First thing I want to point out to you guys, Noel and Kristian, I sent you guys a link to this, and I don't know if you had an opportunity to check it out or not. We love HissTank here. We get a lot. There's a lot of prompts that come from HissTank, a lot of great information, communication. Anybody who's not on the HissTank forums, I strongly recommend you go check them out. There's just like anywhere on the internet, there are a couple of bad faith users in there, but for the most part, it's a great community with a lot of fun and a lot of great information. And some of that great information, HissTank user Ford has started compiling a list of creator credits for Classified. So we'll put this link up.
Yeah, I love this.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons, but I was already following Paul Harding, and through that is when I discovered Dennis. I did not know about Fred, but what I love that Paul and Dennis do for our listeners, if you're not following them, now that the figures are out, they're able to go back and they're telling you about their process for sculpting, and for some of the stuff that's been announced, they're letting you know what parts are new, what's reused. Like, I don't know. I'm a geek about that kind of stuff. I love learning it.
Yeah, it's I really appreciate and that's another thing that's great about HissTank is there are a lot of users that really dig into this stuff in a way that my brain doesn't do that. It doesn't have the desire I need to compile this information. One of my favorite posts one of my favorite threads on there is real world versions of Joe weapons, because while I'm not going to look that stuff up for my reviews because it's not that important to me. But if I've got time to sit around and poke around on the internet, it is really interesting to see which weapons came from where, especially in the original line. So it's cool. There's so many resources like that on HissTank that really just are a way to dive deeper into Joe. It's just a great place. Okay, so I just showed the Python Crimson Guard and Tiger Force Dusty. So Pulse charged me for them on July 24th, and they arrived yesterday. Target, I got nothing, so I canceled them. As soon as Pulse charged me, I went ahead and canceled my Target ones. But then on Friday, I found them in Target. And because I thought I was going to have time to review them over the weekend, I went ahead and bought those with the intent of returning the Pulse ones once they came. But then my son saw them, and he's like, well, wait a minute, you're going to return those? I was like, well, yeah. He said, I mean, those are pretty cool. So I'm going to hang on to those for him. So, yeah, Tiger Force, Dusty, and Python Crimson Guard are relatively plentiful now. I've seen them in several Targets since then. Have you guys seen them yet?
I have not seen Tiger Force Dusty, but I have seen Python Patrol or Python Crimson Guard.
Okay.
I haven't even been in a Target at all lately, so it's been a while.
Thor Golden Cub in the super chat.
Super chat.
Hey guys, great to see you all. Just a month till Dragon Con. Go Audible Joe. I got Bazooka this week and he's amazing. What was your fave G.I. Joe reveal from SDCC? I think we talked about that on the Comic-Con episode, but now I can't remember what I said.
I think we all said Vamp.
Yeah.
The Vamp, because there's so much. It looks so amazing, but there's also so much potential for future great toys that it was just it was too exciting. It was too good a reveal.
It's actually such great and terrible news that they're making a Vamp.
And then outside of G.I. Joe, that's accurate. Outside of G.I. Joe, my favorite reveal was the Gary Oldman True Romance figure. It looks incredible.
I'm going to have to get my hands on that one. I know it's going to be expensive.
Oh, what is up? We got Cornelius McGillicuddy, a.k.a. Fred Braca, the man of many names, in the chat. Now, Cornelius, this should have been in sound off because we want that engagement. That's why we put the sound off up. But since you're here in the chat, that's engagement as well. I asked this on his tank, and he did. I've got notes about this, actually. What are you guys' top 10 most wanted midsize and small vehicles? Also, what do you think the state of the classified series and the Joe brand on a whole is? And then Pavelift, Kristian looks a lot older than he sounds, continues to surprise me.
I'm old.
We're all old. Okay, so for the first one from our pal Cornelius, our top 10 most wanted midsize and small vehicles. Are either one of you comfortable doing this off the top of your head? Because I've got a list I actually made that I have to pull up here.
I could probably look back to remind myself of what exists, but I mean, a lot of them have been, well, a couple of the ones that were my dreams. Are we talking about in classified scale, obviously?
That's what I was just wondering.
Top in classified, yes.
Okay.
Well, and this actually goes to what I added to the comment that I made. Hang on, I'm pulling up because we'll probably agree on an awful lot of these. Okay, so this was my response on his tank. I never wanted classified vehicles at all. I just didn't. They're too big. They take up too much space. They're going to be expensive. But now that the toothpaste is out of the tube, I'll back pretty much any HasLab they offer. But I'd really prefer smaller vehicles. And this is my top 10. And this will maybe kind of jog you guys where some of these you'll agree with. Some of them you might be like, no, I'd rather have whatever. The Claw.
Yep. Right,
the Ferret.
Mm-hmm.
The Skyhawk. The Armadillo. All right. I'm getting a little Kristian with this one. The Pogo.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The Devilfish. The Fang. The Slam. Think about it. Think about how cool that little vehicle would be with two classified figures sitting in it.
Mm-hmm.
The Swamp
and all those missiles to get lost.
Well, but they'd be bigger than the original, so it wouldn't be as bad. The Swamp Fire, because we need more Dreadnought representation, and I love transforming vehicles. Like it's kind of a mask vehicle, almost. And then finally, this one is the one where I kind of want to have a little debate on because I don't know if it qualifies as a small/medium-sized vehicle. The Water Moccasin. I feel like it's vamp-sized.
So do I.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for that matter, well, no, I guess everything you said was the smaller than that size. I would add to that list snake armor.
Well, hang on. Because we have another category that I added. Things that I think are viable as pack-ins rather than vehicles, like Scrap Iron's drone.
Well,
before we get to that, I want to add.
Oh, yes.
I want to add the Stiletto.
Okay. Yeah, that would look great.
The Night Landing. And the Rat.
Oh, yeah.
The Night Landing was the other one that I was about to mention.
Well, that one I've got under the pack-ins.
So with the Night Landing, I would actually like to see that one possibly be a real inflatable.
Yes, 100%.
Oh,
that would be great. So the ones that I think could be pack-ins potentially were the Snake, the Chameleon, the Pack Rats, the Night Landing Craft, the Manta. I would love a classified Manta. And then the motorized action packs and the Falcon and the Viper.
What about the jump jetpacks actual stand? Now that we actually have the backpacks.
Sure, but I don't really care about it. I'd buy it, but it's not. I wouldn't put it above anything that we just listed.
if they did Build-A-Figures in this line, that would be a perfect like
Don't give
Build-A-Figure.
them that
No,
idea.
no
Don't give them that
Build-A-Figures
idea.
ever.
No,
Boo.
I don't agree. But if they're going to do it, I think that's something, because that's something that it might not sell on its own. It's kind of like the Ark of the Covenant with the Indiana Jones figures. I wouldn't buy it on its own, but you know what? I'm going to have to go out and buy that stupid Belloc figure in the costume I don't want him in, only to get the rest of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
so if we're talking pack-ins, I want to add the Bivouac.
Yes.
The Whirlwind.
No, that's a big vehicle.
That's pretty big.
For classified size?
That's too big for these. And that's actually kind of the problem with the Whirlwind is like it's because we're getting the MMS or SMS or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the Whirlwind is a bigger toy than that. So
and
without it,
then what would the Law be? Because I feel like that would be a pack-in.
The Law is huge. Mm-hmm. I don't think it would be worth doing in classified, to tell you the truth. I wonder if the Flak could be done though.
Flak's pretty big too.
Yeah, it is, but it's not. I mean, that Law is. It's large.
Like yay big.
Yeah, but think about how big that's going to be in classified. And it's not even like the Flak, the Law, the Whirlwind, they're not even actual things unto themselves. So I don't know. Those are tricky to me.
Mm.
And then we got to check in. We got a lot of good talk here in the chat. Neil Hill, I want the Rattler, Devilfish, Asp, Shark, Stinger, and Vamp 2. I'd love Pack Rats, an updated version. Classified Swamp Skier might be fun too. I think out of what we've talked about so far, the Swamp Skier, or the Chameleon or whatever, I think that's something that kind of has to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the most realistic, but we've already got how many Zartan figures?
I know, right?
Yeah, no. We don't have enough Zartan figures. After watching Revenge of Cobra, here is how we get the Swamp Skier. You pack it with the Zartan that has an LED light up chest that's red to signify his mood armor.
That would be great.
Because I'm addicted to that now.
I would love that. Yeah. And that was especially next week, we're going to be going backwards and reviewing the first episode of Revenge of Cobra. And after seeing Zartan's hypercolor vest, I would love for them to figure that out in like a laser light He-Man kind of way.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's really all it would need to be is have the light in the back and have it pipe through. All right, we're going to get off on too much of a tangent here.
Emily, make it happen.
I said Pave Lift the first time, but now I'm thinking it's Pavel FT. I just spent the past couple months binging all of your episodes from the very start to now. This is my first time coming in on one of your live sessions. Thank you for consistent positivity. Thank you for being here. Thanks for checking us out. First timer in the chat. I'll send you some
ribbon candy and caramels.
Neil Hill, same, backing every classified vehicle. Ritz Murphy, the Fang, Neil Hill, Awe Striker. On the one hand, I feel like I've had enough Awe Strikers in my life, but on the other hand, I do think a classified Awe Striker could be really cool.
Well, an Awe Striker's bigger technically than the Vamp.
Well, it's bigger, but I don't think it's as much plastic, is it?
Possibly not as much plastic, but it's wider. It's taller.
Yeah, bigger footprint.
I mean, obviously, if I want something that size, I'm calling for a Thunder Machine, but
Nope said General Hawk was my favorite SDCC reveal. Neil Hill wants the Skyhawk and the Claw. Nope. Non-Joe was all the X-Men 97 reveals. I am so interested in seeing what that is going to be.
I think the Claw would be a great opportunity to do that Cobra Commander. Not as a retro package, possibly, but you could do it as a retro package with the Claw as a pack-in.
Oh, man, it would be great to get a big, giant, old school. Well, I mean, look, I know I go back to this all the time. Masters Universe Origins has been doing giant vintage-style boxes that are gorgeous for years now. since 2000, since 2020. I would love to see some big retro Joe boxes. That would be amazing. Kristian, you mentioned the bivouac earlier. Do that. Release those environmental play sets in like original packaging, but just classified size.
Yeah.
That would be incredible. Clawfield's overdue. Pogo could be fun. Oh, this is interesting. From Neil Hill, do you think Hawk looks like Dan Larson?
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh,
really?
I'm never going to unsee that now.
That's kind of awesome. Okay, we've got chat is going wild. We gotta stay on course. I'm gonna keep an eye on it, but we gotta keep moving here. Okay, so and if we have to do them, and we've talked about this on the show before, but I think we'll just do one each. We'll do one each. What HasLab, if Lenny called you up and said, Noel, Kristian, we can only do so many more HasLabs. Each of you gets to pick one. What is it?
Does it have to be a classified?
Yes. Well, but that goes back to if I had my way, all of this stuff would just be new O-ring compatible stuff. I wouldn't want any of this in classified if I had a choice. But we have no choice. We must each pick one final HasLab. Mine. Oh no! I don't know what okay. No, I'm going with it. I'm going with a whale. I want a whale. It's giant. It's ridiculous, but it is the original whale is the greatest toy of all time, in my opinion. And to have a classified one would be ridiculous, but my gosh, I want it.
Well, before my number one pick was Dragonfly, and now they're making it. So I have to use my powers for good.
Yes.
And say, I want a Mobat.
Wow, a Mobat or a Mauler?
Mobat.
Or a Mobat with Mauler features?
No, Mobat.
Just straight up Mobat.
Just a straight up Mobat, like what I had when it came out.
Okay. All right.
It's classified size. And
wow,
no electronics. But I know that they'll put them in there because it's a
HasLab. Well, I mean, they do some LEDs.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want it to be. I don't want any of this to ever be motorized. I don't need that. Or remote controller or whatever. All right, Noel.
Well, I was
pressure's on.
I was thinking the Thunder Machine was too small for a HasLab. It might, because I mean, it's the
Lenny said it's too small for HasLab.
But I mean, you could really deck it out with some extra accessories and stuff to make it HasLab worthy. But I think the water moccasin. No, sorry, not the water moccasin. The lamprey or the hydrofoil. What's it called?
Noel is having a breakdown. The moray that includes the lamprey.
Yes, the lamprey is the pilot of the moray, the hydrofoil.
This happens sometimes on the show.
Right there on my shelf.
Joe gets in your brain. It all gets mixed up. We've all done it. As we mentioned earlier, we're all old.
I think it's a reasonable size to do one. Like I love your idea of the whale, but I feel like that's going to be an $800 toy. I think you could do the water moccasin, not the water moccasin. I keep saying it. The moray at about a $300 price point,
and it's got a float.
And it would encourage me to buy more eels.
They better make more eels. Because
I don't have many sources, but the sources I do have told me that a whale HasLab would not be $800. And that's all I can say about that.
All right.
But man, the hydrofoil would be great. Man, think about if they made, because that Fortnite boat came out and it came with didn't it come with a base that's like water effects to put it on? Imagine that with like the hydrofoil.
Yeah.
I just would love to see those working foils.
Yeah, I know.
On a vehicle that size.
And being able to make them function without being slightly scared every time.
Yeah.
Well, being able to touch the toy without being scared every time.
And honestly, that's an electronics that I would actually get behind. Where if you just had a button and it went.
No, I'd be okay with. So I mean, they could do something where it like snaps into place, like kind of like the Sky Striker. The new Sky Striker, the way that works. which I mean is very much like the old Sky Striker, but smoother, except the landing gear doesn't stay down. But we're not going to talk about that right now. All right, what else have we got over here? Let's see, Rattler or Whale for sure. Rattler for sure has lab. Lots of Rattlers. Moray, lots of Morays. So it really, we're all kind of on the same. Oh, JJ Howderschelt, Snowcat. And we've talked about the Snowcat a lot, and I think that would be a really fun one as well, and wouldn't break the bank.
Well, but I'm wondering if that's too small, because that was in the same price point as, I mean, the Hiss was in that price point, but the Vamp, the Thunder Machine, all that was in the, like, it was probably like $7.99 at the time.
I got to look at the Thunder Machine and the Snowcat and think they're pretty much the same category, right? So if he said the Thunder Machine,
but then again, the Hiss is also in that same.
Well, yeah, that's true.
It blows my mind that he keeps saying that the Thunder Machine would not be a HasLab.
Yeah, I don't know. Lots of speculation, which is fun for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving along. So, okay, let's take a look at these. We got to do a little screen share because let me shrink that back down. Get the right folder up here because we got some surprise pre-orders. The existence of the items was not a surprise, but the fact that the pre-orders went up last Wednesday, wasn't it Wednesday? Was a surprise because the first time we saw these figures was at San Diego Comic-Con, and then just a few days later, they popped up first for pre-order on Pulse, and then later, like 15 minutes later, but later on Target, which has not happened before.
And this is the only time that I did not get a text or email from Pulse saying that something dropped. Because usually with the premium members, it always happens.
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
Surprise.
I had kind of forgotten that, but yeah, I don't think I got a notification. I just happened to be looking at Pulse and I was like, wait, what? So yeah, here we have Tiger Force Flint that, I mean, I liked. I thought the paint across his eyes was a little weird, but now seeing the full portrait with more of the striping, I think it looks better than it did.
I think he looks like a replicant. I just don't, I don't like it.
I think he's hungry like the wolf.
Oh, wow. Now that makes me want it more. He's hungry like the tiger. I dig this. I like it. I like that they did something different with the face paint. I like that he's got Rakondo's accessories. That's something a little bit different. It looked okay at San Diego Comic-Con, but to me, this image of it, I really, really dig it and think it's going to look great on my Tiger Force shelf. So this one I knew I was going to get in the first place, but seeing this just made it like a lock. Now, the next one, initially, I said, there's no way I'm going to buy this. I did not care for it in the display case at San Diego Comic-Con. I didn't like that it was using the Akiko body. Although it does have different arms.
Got the Zorana's
armor piece. Yeah. But seeing this, well, let me ask you guys, because I don't know that we've really talked about it since this was revealed. Does this image make this any more appealing to you guys? And the fact that we found out this is not Python Patrol Ninja, this is Vipra.
It didn't change my opinion on it.
No.
I mean, it looks better. But it's not something. Regardless, I'm going to put it in my collection.
I like this image a lot more than what we saw in the case. The fact that it's Vipra makes it much more appealing to me. And I don't care for the skull mask at all, but I do like I like that head that's underneath it.
Now, when Vipra eventually comes out as the driver to the future Vamp repaint the Rattler, then I'll probably get that character.
You'll be on board. Well, and what's interesting is that if that does happen, then by then Jinx will be out and they can just repaint Jinx for that Vipra. That thing, the possibilities of Classified, there's so much fun with this stuff. So yeah, anyway, those two things went up for pre-order, and I pre-ordered them both because we all know how I am. Now, there are some things, some Joe stuff that happened at San Diego Comic-Con that we just didn't have time to get to in our San Diego Comic-Con episode, which ended up going long. If you can imagine, anybody who's been here before, you guys in the chat that know the show, sometimes we go a little long. It happens. What's up, Payne's Toy Samples? Thor Golden Cub. What do you guys think about the supersized figures we saw at San Diego Comic-Con, yay or nay? Those were actually two-ups or paint masters from the original line. And if they were to offer those, I'm sure I'd buy them, but I don't particularly want them. I would rather have just give me some O-rings, please. Regular old O-rings. But
they did do that with Gentle Giant.
Well, with Gentle Giant, they're like 12 inches.
Yeah. I've got the snake eyes for Gentle Giant.
I don't know why I didn't buy those.
They've done like at Joe Fest the last few years. There've been some people that have had some of the original 2-ups, but they weren't painted samples like that. They were just made of the regular molding clay color they use.
Yeah. It's look, I love seeing that stuff. I just think the timing of it, I understand they're doing the 100th anniversary of Hasbro. Like, I understand what they were doing, but fresh off of O-ring being
death,
almost scaled back out of existence. Because we are still getting them, but they're just included with Transformers. It was a tough pill to swallow. Like, hey, look at this great product. Except it's not. It was 40 years ago. So anyway, Chuckles went up for pre-order on July 28th at noon and is still, he's sold out now.
No, he's sold out now.
He was available all weekend though, which is wild. But I will say this, I don't feel one bit bad for paying $13.25 to get a code to order Chuckles, Deadpool, and Kristian. Because I got it done. I didn't have to think about it again. No problem at all. Now, I was tempted a little bit just to go ahead and order another Chuckles when they went up, but I did not. Good for me.
I bought 2 initially, thinking that there might be some scarcity later, but I guess there probably won't be. There will still be people who will missed out.
Because we had this with Mindbender. So
yeah. Well, and that's the thing is you're a little silly if you don't jump on stuff, because why take the chance? Now, I'm not saying everybody should have bought a $13 code, but when stuff goes up, get it.
And if you don't take the chance, then don't complain later on when you can't get a hold of it, when you have an opportunity.
Yeah, Payne's Toy Samples and Inutibi both got themselves codes. And look, it was worth it to me. Just was. All right, we got another little screen share because we have to talk about Mezco had some stuff on display, kind of under the radar, not a lot of attention given to it. Just the pictures popped up and there they were. Roadblock, who is, I think, currently expected September to November of this year. Looking good.
I like it. That helmet is gigantic.
It is pretty large. It looks like Luke's helmet from Return of the Jedi.
It looks like a baseball, batting helmet.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what ends up on the final product. But the thing is, I don't put helmets on my Roadblocks anyway, so I'm not that worried about it. But otherwise, he looks great. Big, giant arms. The machine gun is awesome. I'm excited. I love Mezco's 112 Collective stuff. I'm not as avid a collector as I used to be, but I got Destro, and it's the best Destro figure ever made, in my opinion. We also saw Storm Shadow, which is, I'm going to be honest, less exciting than the original images we saw. How do you guys feel about this?
There's too much black on him. I don't like the black on his boots.
Yeah, I agree. I wish that was like just a light gray or something.
I don't like the knee pads. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say,
there's just nothing special about this Storm Shadow figure to me.
It looks like somebody was told, we're making Storm Shadow, but we got to make him look a little different. And the person unenthusiastically said, yeah, okay.
We'll give him some soccer shin guards.
So, yeah, we'll see. This one is still a ways off. I think it's next year. So we'll see what happens with it. And then finally, hasn't even been announced yet, out of nowhere, Mr. Hauser, Duke. Look at that guy.
It's the best face sculpt any Duke figure has ever had.
Yeah, he is. He's a little
not smiling.
He's a little Cena. He's a little not Viggo Mortensen. Who am I thinking of? Yeah, maybe a roided out Viggo Mortensen. And this, you got to remember, this is a very rough early sample. This is nowhere near a finished product. That I can't imagine that shirt's going to stay the same color, but I do like the promise of this one. Like for an early sample, I'm actually pretty excited about this one. I'm interested to see his loadout and see what else they announce about him.
I get a little nostalgia for like the old Miko, like Dukes of Hazzard figures with the stitching on the pockets.
Well, and I'll tell you right now, in person on these, none of that stitching looks Miko at all. Like it's all very subtle, very scaled appropriately. Let's see here. Got the in new to be getting Firefly Destro was great. Payne's toy samples, got the Destro sitting on my shelf. Not liking the fabric clothing on him, but the head sculpt is good. Well, and I think they'll tighten up the soft goods. That's what they usually do. More often than not, when Mezco shows something for the first time, the soft goods are much rougher than they end up being on the final product. So I expect this to only improve over the next 5 years before it comes out. Okay, and then we've got one more that I wanted to bring up last time, and this one I actually just forgot. So the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast has two different lines of toys. One of them's Major Bendies, which are the scale and style of the original WWF Bendies. And they have signed Sergeant Slaughter and are releasing a Bendy of Sergeant Slaughter, which is something that's never happened before. So if you enjoy the old WWF Bendies by Just Toys, then this guy will fit right in, or he will fit into your Sergeant Slaughter collection, as he will here. But the main reason I bring this up is that these guys also have another line called Big Rubber Guys that are basically new LJN figures. Remember the old WWF LJN wrestling superstars? The big, you could knock a donkey out with them. They are making new ones of those. The same consistency, the same detail, the same style of paint, but more durable, because obviously the old LJNs were a little cheaper. They weren't meant to last 40 years.
No toy made 40 years ago was meant to last 40 years.
Exactly. So these are being made, these guys know what they're doing. And I want an LJN style Slaughter so I don't have to pay $800 for the Hasbro one. So that I bring that up because this is exciting. These guys are making really high quality products. And it's exciting to see Sarge somewhere else. I'm always happy to see another Sergeant Slaughter product.
Yeah, Sarge, man, he's getting around. He's like, I'm going to make all the money I can off my likeness right now.
Yeah. And good for him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. We're going to stop that share. So Super 7's exclusives went up. Did they go up Friday as well, or did they go up Thursday? I don't know. They went up last week. Whatever. Did you guys get anything? No, I didn't either. I was positive I was going to get a box of the cards, but I think they were $144 for a box of 24. And
Wow.
Well, that works out to $6 a pack.
Yeah, that's still a lot for trading cards.
Well, it's
not a collectible card game.
Right, but it's also not something you can go into Target and buy. Like, it is a convention exclusive, like, special item, and that's the Super 7 markup.
I get it. I just, for me personally, I would have a hard time paying that price. If I opened up every single pack and I did not get the full set.
Apparently if you get a box, you got a full set and then some.
Okay.
But I passed. Because a lot of times I get excited about trading cards and then I buy them and I'm like, what am I going to do with these? But I don't need trading cards. But yeah, but between the price and the fact that it looks like a lot of it is just the card art, and I've got all the card art already with figures. So I passed on those. The Python Patrol socks were sold out when I looked. And just, there's too much stuff. There's just too much coming out. And I didn't even get the reaction set. I didn't order the Red Knock and the Red Jackal. I didn't order those. I think it's all great, cool stuff, but there's just too much right now. And then some stuff just isn't going to make it into the collection. What we didn't talk about, that I'm ashamed of myself for forgetting this, you guys. Super 7 revealed a whole new wave of Ultimates, and we have not talked about them.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Right.
That's massive.
We didn't even get to Super 7.
Not with our wonderful listeners.
Right. We have talked about it.
We barely contained just the Hasbro product within a 2-hour live stream last weekend.
Yeah, I know, right? So Wave 5 of Super 7 G.I. Joe Ultimates starts off with Major Blood with a fantastic maniacal laughter portrait. That is amazing. He has got... I like that they didn't go with any specific toy items for this one, because the toy blood is so different that, like, the rocket pack and the rocket gun would have just been weird. So it's all just Sunbow stuff, and I dig it. What do you guys think of this one?
The maniacal laughing head is one of the greatest things. If he comes out this year, it's going to be in the top 10.
If he comes out this year, it's going to be a miracle.
Well, that's true too.
It's already next year.
I'm glad they were listening when I put this on my list for the next wave of Ultimates, because he comes with several of the accessories that I mentioned that he should come with.
Yes. Yes.
The bomb, the remote control, and the binoculars,
which we just saw in Revenge of Cobra. Yeah, he's awesome. He's a must-have. Well, these are me saying something is a must-have probably carries very little weight, but moving along to Roadblock, another Roadblock. Okay, the one thing that jumps out at me here that's a little weird. What is that little knife? Oh, it's his thigh. It's just bizarre that it's this little stiletto.
Tiny little knife.
Yeah.
You know,
big giant man, tiny little knife.
Yeah, when you got Meduse, you don't need much knifing.
That's his teeth picking knife.
That's probably true. Oh, it might be like a fillet knife.
Yeah.
For preparing food out in the field. So he's awesome. Now in his case, him coming with the toy stuff makes sense. Alternate port, that smiling head is just delightful.
Especially if you've got him in the pose where he's like mowing people down with a machine gun, and he's just like
he's just calmly smiling. That's perfect. That is exactly what I'm going to put on my shelf. And it looks like I'm looking now at the stand for his gun.
It goes on the backpack.
Well, it does, just like the original. But look, it looks like the front part folds down, so maybe it won't stick up like the original figure. That would be a nice innovation.
Yeah, I love the fact they duplicated the toy accessories.
Yeah, they work for him.
Yeah.
Our Crimson Guard that we knew about, that we did talk about just a little bit because it got teased. But the fact that it comes with the germ is awesome. And if Super 7 would make just like a big inflatable germ, like with just sparkly purple plastic like that, that would be delightful. We like the alternate portraits, of course. We talked about that. He's got the donut and the coffee. You guys are not as all in on the ultimates as I am, but where does this guy rank on your list?
If I had unlimited funds and unlimited shelf space, I'd have a whole shelf of these guys.
Yeah, I dig this.
Yeah, I think they did a nice job on this one. And then finally, CoverGirl with long hair and short hair. She's got the great helmet with the mic on it. And, oh man, I don't have my notes in front of me. The mind control undoing gun. I can't remember exactly what it's called. And then is that a Wolverine rocket?
Looks like it.
So that's a nice little
shovel
and
the I guess the shovel and the sledgehammer too are from the molding of the Wolverine. I will say this, I think they missed an opportunity to give her one head with blonde hair, because she does appear on the cartoon as a blonde in at least one episode.
Well, they'll do that as like an exclusive or something.
Yeah,
if you buy the whole wave, the pack in.
Oh yeah, what is that? I forgot to load an image.
It's weapons.
It's all just repainted weapons. I don't remember exactly what they are, but I've decided I don't need those. They're neat, but I'm still not ordering from Super 7 for my own personal reasons. So yeah, great wave. I'm still very excited about these, and I hope they are successful and keep coming. And apparently, from what Brian Flynn has said, G.I. Joe is one of their top brands. So hopefully everything will keep going.
They're still producing waves and waves and waves of ultimates. Reaction.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any other line that has produced as many reactions as G.I. Joe.
No.
All right. So I'm going to put one of you on the spot right now, because we got a couple more sound offs that I have to download from my drive. Kristian, what could what could Hasbro announce for classified, anything for classified right now that would really blow your mind and get you excited, just as a wow, I can't believe they're doing that. I can't wait to get my hands on that.
A play set. And it doesn't have to be plastic. It can be the thick cardboard, like what Extreme Sets and all these other companies are doing. But give us, if they want to blow my mind, give us the Cobra Temple. Just the front, like I said, just make it a diorama piece. I don't need an inside play area or any of that. But if you did that in class of even sort of a forced perspective classified scale, I would be all over that. Yeah. I
would like to have some environment stuff. I think that's a good call. It would be nice to have, well, we were talking earlier about like the bivouac and the forward observer and things like that. It would be nice to have somewhere to stand those figures that wasn't just a shelf.
When they, when they do their Yojo lives and even at San Diego, they keep mentioning the toy photographers, like, they're putting in these blast effects for the toy photographers. We need more,
right
than just blast effects.
Dioramas,
Photoshop blast effects, that's easy. I want environments. I want,
I want
like
barrels and
plastic barbed wire,
ammo boxes and hedgehogs.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the things that I want.
That and speaking of that, that's a good point. You can Photoshop blast effects, and then you don't have to keep them in a drawer somewhere. All right, so we've got our sound offs loaded up. For anybody that's joined us, sound off is a feature that we have on the Audible Interlude podcast Instagram. Anybody following us, we'll put up a post every time we're doing a live stream that says sound off. We want to hear from you what you want us to talk about, questions you may have. We're going to start right now with the old screen share with Wreck Ship 85. Now that we have Big Ben and Glenda, which non-American Joe character do you want to see next in the Classified series? My immediate answer for this, and I believe I've said it before, possibly in lines other than Classified, horror show. I want a big, heavy horror show figure, whether it's Super 7 Ultimates, whatever, but I that's a character I want very badly. And I don't care if they call it October Guard. I don't care if he's just International Joe, whatever. I don't think there's any need to get into the background of October Guard if they start making those characters, because that's not something they're doing with G.I. Joe right now, really, anyway. Like they can make up anything, and we know that's horror show, because don't you kind of just use your headcanon anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I appreciate their storytelling efforts. I think it's awesome. But in the end, it's whatever I want it to be when I put it on my shelf. Noel, what about you? Have you got an international character you'd like to see?
I mean, I'd love to see all of the October Guard get released eventually. But this one would be super easy because you've already got the mold. Give me a Gaucho.
Yes.
Yes.
I would love that. That would be great.
Well,
Kristian?
I went the expensive route and wasn't thinking repaints. I want the Action Force Muton. The guy in the diver suit.
Oh, yeah.
Radars and stuff coming out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would love that. That would be fantastic. Wow. You, once again, you have dazzled with the most unlikely pick possible.
You have given the most Kristian answer possible.
Okay. Hey, look at that. It's Pavel Foot. Every time I see Pavel, I think nuclear vessels. I just realized that Super 7 Reaction, with their 5 points of articulation, when paired with early Palitoy Action Force figures, creates an almost alternate reality toy line where Palitoy's vision continued absent Hasbro's introduction of O-rings. What do you all think? That's a very interesting point, because there's been so much debate over Reaction and whether or not they should even exist. That's a really good perspective. I like that a lot. Now, I don't have any personal attachment to the Palitoy Action Force stuff. It's cool. I love that there is enthusiasm for it. But
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I like that train of thought.
Yeah. So I saw this one earlier today, and it has stuck with me all day. I honestly cannot stop thinking about it, because I never put those two things together. I don't collect Action Force, but I love looking at all the Action Force stuff online. And yeah, they were Kenner 5 points of articulation figures
with the weird arm positions. They could hold their guns. Well, and that just makes me now want characters like Baron Ironblood in the Reaction line.
Well, I mean, they did the red laser.
They did the red laser, and I mean,
surely Gorgills is on Brian Flynn's list.
Well, and they'll do the Destro, the Jackal, the Red Jackal, I'm sure, because they've done it now in Ultimates. So yeah.
But you have given us a good counter argument for whenever people are getting all negative about Reaction.
Yeah,
now
absolutely.
I'm just going to throw Action Force in their face. Yeah.
Which, for you guys that may not know Kristian as well as we do, that means literally he's going to have Action Force written on his hand, and he's going to throw it in people's faces.
I'm going to get it made as a stamp.
ACTI, 2 extra fingers, ONFORC.
This is a fair point from G.I. Joeberg. Palatoy figures have more natural posture. Reaction guys look like mannequins. That's fair, but I think the middle ground there is that they're trying to sell reaction figures to Americans who are not familiar with the postures of Action Force figures, but who are very familiar with Kenner Star Wars figures.
Yeah, and it's every reaction figure out there is done in the style of Kenner Star Wars figures.
Yeah.
And the Flash Gordon figures and all the other 5 POA figures from that era.
They're sculpted with the cartoony look. That's not a bad thing. And the Action Force figures were sculpted to
whatever the toy designer was thinking. Yeah. Okay. Sneezy the Squid, our pal Gary. 2 questions. You don't get 2 questions, Gary. What do you think you are? No, actually, you accommodate the Audible Interlude panel at DragonCon. So we will allow 2 questions for Gary. How do you feel about adding non-Joe products into your collection, like Fortnite vehicles, Valaverse figures, etc.? Noel, why don't you start with that one?
It's not anything that I'm interested in, but I could see how a lot of those things would fit in. Like, I know a lot of people that have gotten, especially some of the figures, like the Havoc figure from Fortnite, and put it in their collection because it's a better Firefly than the first Firefly we got. But for me personally, my Joe stuff is all together with just other Joe stuff.
Kristian, what about you?
I'm all about integration.
Yeah.
Yep. As long as the scale sort of makes sense. Yeah, I've seen amazing photos of the Fortnite boat now being used with Torpedo and Shipwreck.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, any figure that's in scale, fair game.
If I were doing like diorama stuff, there are a lot of like 1/18th style vehicles that I would have picked up when I saw them and threw them in to my Joe stuff. But, since mine are just sitting on a shelf with just G.I. Joe things, that's the way they'll remain.
Yeah, I'm so picky about aesthetics that it's really hard for me to mix stuff from different toy lines because there's nothing action to my eye. Valaverse does not mix with Classified. They look like entirely different products. They do. I can't put them next to each other. Masterverse and Masters of the Universe Classics, I cannot put them on a shelf together. I just can't do it. And they're very similar. I then see that's but
I also don't there's only a couple of the human figures that I have when it comes to the monster looking Masterverse figures, because they are slightly bigger than classics. It makes them look more imposing. Like that, the Masterverse Beastman, the deluxe Beastman, is a much better figure than the classics Beastman in my display.
They are. So I have, I think, close. I have very close to the entire collection of DC Direct Arkham figures, like based on the Batman Arkham games, and McFarlane Toys has started producing them. And I could, even though they're the same scale and they're from the same, source material, I could not put them on the shelf together because they look so different to me. I have a problem.
No, you like what you like aesthetically.
Yeah, I just can't. And look, I like both of those things, but I cannot put them together. And then question number 2, with the new movie, hopefully on the way, what's essential to be in there to make it feel like G.I. Joe for each of you, especially since it probably won't be set in the 80s? Well, Gary, you just blew the first one, is it needs to be set in the 80s. No, I mean, seriously, to make it feel like G.I. Joe, I don't know. That's a really tough thing to qualify. It needs to be fun. It needs to have adventure. It needs to have globetrotting. It needs to have characters that are recognizable as G.I. Joes, obviously. I would like to see a few vehicles that we're familiar with, like as much as somebody in the chat earlier, and I'm sorry I missed it, mentioned the Lava Pod. I love the Lava Pod. We've talked about the Lava Pod on the show before and how it's one of the greatest toys of all time because the drilling vehicle is such a classic trope of science fiction. But we need more than that. Like, we need to see a dragonfly or a whale or an asp, or like, we need to see things that are recognizable as GI Joe, and not just, well, hey, this is a Hiss tank now.
Right.
No, it isn't. And don't get me wrong, I loved the Hiss remodel from the movies, but it wasn't enough of a Hiss tank. So it's just got to pass the squint test. How about that? What about you guys? What do you need?
The movies, everything you said, because my biggest two things were, it needs to be fun, and instead of going so far military, even though they are military, it needs to be more adventure based, like what we've been seeing with the original cartoon miniseries, because having everybody run around in blue camo pants and a black shirt, I didn't know who half those characters were until they started putting the toys out, and then what? That's CoverGirl?
Yeah,
she was in the movie.
And you're right.
Like, we have seen from, especially here recently, movies that put that element of fun, and you can lean into the colorfulness of it without necessarily going camp, but somebody like Shipwreck can be in a Navy uniform. He doesn't need to be wearing the exact same thing that the whole rest of the team is.
Yep. That was basically exactly what I was going to say. Tone is the most important thing, but I think that having characters that are identifiable as unique characters, and it's like, you look at what Marvel Cinematic Universe has done, because look, as much as I love the first X-Men movie, which was one of the first like really kind of like big surprise superhero comic book movies that blew up, like
After Blade.
I don't like seeing
After Blade.
Well, yes, but I mean, something that was familiar as a familiar property to most people. Like, I love that movie, but I don't like seeing a bunch of people just in like black leather.
Right.
I want those original popping colors, and they got it later on, and they started adding that in. And we've seen what they've done with the Marvel movies, where they've you can bring in the color and you can balance it. It doesn't have to look like silly and goofy. But you do like what Spielberg did. And when you watch Jurassic Park, every character has a color palette. Like Dr. Grant and what's her name? Ellie. They have like distinct color palettes. The kids have, and when you see them from a distance, you know who they are. You know how to react to those characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's the whole reason the Joes were unique the way they are in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And lean into the absurd elements without feeling like you have to explain it. I feel like there are more people alive now who are familiar enough with G.I. Joe that if you have Cobra Commander on the screen and he's wearing a mask, no one is wondering, is he deformed under there? Is he a snake man under there? How did he get that way? It's just Cobra Commander.
Right. All right. Griddle Games. With the Vamp coming out soon, what should be the next vehicle playset to enter the classified line? I'm pretty sure we will see a Stinger in the MMS, so those already have tooling and are not included in the what's next question. I think we've talked about that a little bit. But like, out of what we've talked about, I personally feel like the next most likely thing is the Claw.
Claw or the Ferret. I kind of feel like we've got, especially with them leaning on Tiger Force stuff, that's one they could really easily do as a Tiger Paw.
Mm-hmm. Oh, first, good point.
And then release it into the main line as a Ferret.
Although, if we're talking stuff as big as the Vamp, then how about the Water Moccasin?
Yeah.
Although, what does it come with? Because we've already got Copperhead. We've got Python Patrol Copperhead coming. So that's we've talked so much about the Water Moccasin, and it would be awesome, but they did kind of repaint themselves into a corner.
Yeah, I guess if they've already released a vehicle's driver, like if they put a Wild Weasel out in the main line, we're not going to get a Rattler.
Nowhere Man-Child. How much is too much when it comes? Oh, wait a minute. No, he redid his question. Hang on. It made it twice as long. Nowhere Man-Child. How much is too much when it comes to classified pre-orders from Hasbro? I love the line and want as much as I can get, but from September through December, the total amount of pre-order money is about $900 just for getting one of everything. And this doesn't include any tax or shipping charges. Well, first, order from somewhere you get free shipping. You'd think they might have a small level of care that their loyal fan base might have some money devoted to other lines or hobbies or even non-Hasbro Joe products, and Hasbro would go a little easier on their customer base, but I suppose that doesn't help their profit margin as a corporation. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are this. We need as much Joe as we can get while we can get it. These things aren't going anywhere. You do not have to buy. We are no longer in the stage of classified where you have to buy everything the second it comes out. You just don't. There is stuff you'll be able to wait a year to buy from Hasbro's Pulse sale, and you'll be fine. Now, if you want everything immediately, that's me. I have to have everything as soon as possible because I'm a lunatic with a YouTube channel. But not everybody has to be that way. If they slow down, when they have the opportunity to pump out as much product as possible, it's not about that they're not maximizing their profits. It is that. But it's not just that. It's the fact that we're missing the opportunity for product that a year from now might not be viable. Inflation is not stopping. So if Hasbro needs to make every version of the Vamp they can in the next 6 months, do it. Because a year from now, it might cost twice as much. So no, I say turn it up, pump it out, make it all now. Put it in the market, because once it's in the market, it's never really going to go away. But if it doesn't make it to market, then we don't get it. So I say Hasbro, crank it up, put it all out. You guys have any?
This totally goes against the belief of consumerism, but don't feel like you have to get everything, period.
Yeah.
Buy what you like. There are figures.
Even I have skipped things, believe it or not.
Like, I have no interest in the Tiger Force deco. So those I pretty much have left alone, and that saves me here and there. But I get that they create that FOMO. So
yeah. Well, when they did their last sale where like all the stuff on Pulse was 35% off a couple months ago, I instantly regretted buying so many of the pre-orders that I bought, because I'm like, they're readily available. They're almost half of what I paid for before. Like that Viper 3-pack is one of my biggest regrets I've ever had, because I'm not crazy about the deco on those Vipers. First of all, they came with a bunch of extra accessories that I'm never going to use, and I paid a premium for them when 2 weeks later they were on Amazon for like $60, and then later on they were on Pulse for like $45.
Yeah, we are fortunate in that we've gotten to a point in classified where you can afford to wait if you're patient. So,
and not for everything. I mean, there's going to be exclusives.
Yeah.
You may not get a chance to buy Chuckles again. We don't know. But
yeah, but I mean, like even right now, if you go to most of the websites, the Cobra Eel, they're sold out everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully, they will produce more.
There will be more.
Right. Well, that
100%.
was an Amazon exclusive.
Right.
And we know what happened with that. Roadblock was hard to get for a little while, and then it was everywhere again.
Yeah, right. Roadblock came in and out a few times. Even people don't remember this, but even the Arctic Storm Shadow was available 2 more times after the initial offering.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say this. You do have to pay attention. You can't expect, tune into us every single time and we'll tell you what's going on, but you do have to stay on top of like His Tank to find out when stuff goes up or what does seem like it's going to be more exclusive or limited or whatever the case is. But I mean, all this mainline stuff, you don't have to buy it all at once,
and it's getting easier to find it in stores now too. Distribution's gotten a little bit better.
Every Target I've gone to has had the newest, the Torpedo Wave and the Tiger Force and Python Patrol
Targets
stuff.
and GameStops have been like teaming with them. I haven't seen them in Walmart's except for the Snake Eyes with timber that I'm now seeing at every Walmart I go to.
I saw scrap iron in Walmart the other day.
Okay.
Lots
of gung ho's, Lady J's, and Baronesses on the retro cards.
But see, and even gung ho was one. That was the one figure out of that retro line that everybody wanted. The pre-order of him sold out, and we never saw him on the shelf, and now everywhere.
Yeah. All right. Great conversation starter there. Strebin75 classified should do the twins in their suits, but sold together. What do you think? I think yes. 100%. Yep.
I'm surprised we haven't gotten them in a reaction yet in their suits.
Yeah. I actually kind of thought that would be their first move.
Yeah. But yeah, anytime you're selling the twins, they should always be sold together.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of Sound Off. So every time we have a live stream, if you're following Audible Interlude Podcast on Instagram, you can see that Sound Off post and tell us what you want us to talk about. You guys, that brings us to our final segment of the night that we haven't done in a while because we've been running out of time so often. But I think, do you guys have a Joe and Tell for tonight?
Yeah, I got a Joe and Tell.
Kristian's thinking about it.
I do. I have to step away from my computer to grab it.
Well, that's fine, because while you're doing that, I'll Joe and Tell a little Mercari purchase I made a while ago that was supposed to be on the first Joe and Tell we skipped because we ran out of time. So I like Mercari a lot. It's great. You can make offers. Everything's just there for sale. Like, there's no bidding. It is what it is. And you can find a lot of really good deals on kind of weird old stuff. And that's what I got. I got myself a G.I. Joe canteen complete with fabric canteen cover. This is
nice.
From 1988. And if you can see that printing on this is pristine. This whole thing is in excellent condition. The only thing I can't figure out, this is the for the belt, whose belt is like an inch wide?
A child's.
That is even when I was a kid, I feel like my belt was bigger than that. But I'm trying to decide if I'm going to incorporate this, even though it will not be accurate, if I want to incorporate this into my G.I. Joe costume that I'm going to have at Dragon Con. We'll see. But anyway, I was happy to get that.
There on eBay, I think it ended today. There were a pair of G.I. Joe roller skates that are camo, but they're child size. And I was if I send this to Phantom, he's going to buy them.
Now, are these the kind?
To figure out how to wear them.
Are these the kind that like just clamp over your front and the back of your heel?
No.
Or are they
these are the boots.
Skates?
They're camo. They've got the G.I. Joe logo on them. They were really nice.
Oh, I would have been tempted by those, because when you said roller skates, I was thinking they would be like the plastic ones and have like Duke's face on the front or something.
Nope.
So with that canteen, just because they were both G.I. Joe and they were in the listing together, I got a Sergeant Slaughter flashlight, which is just, I'm sure in different colors. This was also a Batman flashlight and a Spider-Man flashlight and a, Incredible Hulk flashlight. But this one just has a Sergeant Slaughter sticker right there on it. And I don't have any C batteries, so I can't see if it works or not, but
you can't see if it works.
Aha. So anyway, those are just a couple of cool items I picked up because I just, keep an eye on stuff. You never know what's going to pop up. All right, Noel or Kristian, either one of you, who's got the next thing? From the Hilt is here. What's up, From the Hilt?
I can go next.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Okay.
Why not? So I went into the Container Store a couple weeks ago. I only went to buy trash bags because I have one of those fancy sliding out garbage cans that I use the special Simple Human trash bags because why not? You got to live a little, right?
Sure.
So I realized when I walked in, they were doing like a buy one, get one half off sale for most of the products in the store, save for like the Simple Human and the Alpha stuff, like all the higher end stuff. So I'm like, all right, I can find some things, and I got like a lot of little like plexiglass shelves. I wish I had one in my hands right now, but I've got a couple things back there where, it just rises up. You got like 3 and 4 inch ones, and normally I probably wouldn't pay as much for them as they normally, but buy one get one half off. You're saving a lot of money on those. But one thing I did was I went in and I rated. These are the little AMAC plexiglass boxes.
Oh yeah.
And man, these things are amazing. I went to 3 different Container stores in the Metro Atlanta area because there's only 3. I cleaned out all the ones in this size.
That's great. I love it.
They're still on back order because I ruined them. I got them all from all the stores, so I keep waiting on the website for them to come back with more because now I'm addicted. But I also had gotten these.
Whoa!
Now, I got these for G.I. Joe figures a long time ago. My plan was to put my Joes in here and hang these on the wall.
That would take up a lot of space.
Yeah. Well, this was back before I was recollecting Joes again when I initially bought these things. But now I've repurposed them for these are my GoBots here because these have a little trouble standing up on their own, but they do work nice if you can just like prop them up in this. But these are a lifesaver.
They look really, really good in that case because of the shape of the Go. Like Joe's wouldn't look as good in there, but the GoBots have a bulkier profile.
Yep. Well, and they have these in different sizes too. They have some that are smaller, some that are bigger. Like I basically bought a bunch of them out, and then I brought back all the ones I decided I wasn't going to use. So I walk into a Container store with like 3 stores worth of plexiglass boxes, and I spent $300 that day just on crap from the Container store, and
Tremendous.
I brought back $140, $150 worth of it.
That's great. I love that.
I was like, I'm sorry, but.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
This is I'm going to be the person you complain about when you go home tonight.
It's good to have goals in life, Noel.
All right, Kristian, what you got for Joe and Tell?
So, in my continuing quest of O-rings of the more slightly odd figures from later in the Joe line, I did snag a Voltar. But the reason why I'm using this for my Joe and Tell, I got him ridiculously cheap because even though he came with his Vulture, it doesn't have the feet.
Of course.
Right. Like you see that with a lot of Raptors and Freedoms. Well, it just so happens that I do have one of the Falcons from Raptor where the foot part is broken off. And I was going to plastic weld it back together. I've just been too busy. So I am actually going to use that to try my hand at making a mold.
Oh, wow.
And see if I can make that work.
Nice.
The Vulture. So we'll see.
I like it. Your projects are always interesting. All right. Well, guys, that is all the time we've got for this live stream. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for hanging out, for talking. Certainly all the super chats for contributing. We are that much closer to our StreamYard dreams and desires. Music is by Andy Samford of electricminnowmusic.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Audible Interlude Podcast and on Twitter or X or whatever it is at G.I. Joe Audible. Noel, why don't you tell us a little bit about The Finest?
The Finest is an international G.I. Joe costuming club. And of course, we raise money for a great charity called Canines for Warriors. We will be setting up a booth, my garrison here in Georgia, at Joe Lanta, which is coming up here in, I cannot believe, 10 days from now. Because I was like, oh, yeah, it's happening in September, right? No. Oh, it's right before DragCon. No, it's 3 weeks before DragonCon. So... yeah. I am not prepared for it, but we're gonna be there raising some money. If you are in Atlanta and you go to Joe Lanta, come by and say hello. I won't be there Saturday, but I should be there on Friday night and on Sunday. But yeah, if you ever thought about dressing up like your favorite Joe character and want to dress up and help us raise money, then we're always recruiting. Check out the Fighters Recruitment Center on Facebook.
And I'm glad you brought up Joe Lanta because I am now off that weekend, so I will be at Joe Lanta as well. I'm very excited. I was actually looking at stuff on eBay earlier, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to be at Jolanta now. I don't have to look at eBay for really the rest of the year, because Dragon Con's coming up too, and good Lord. Kristian, where can we find that toy photography you do so well?
You can find me at Shady Pines and on Instagram under the name Legion Cub.
Well, you guys, we've had a fantastic time talking about G.I. Joe. We're going to end our live stream, but we're going to keep talking about G.I. Joe, and you can hear the rest of the conversation on our next audio episode next Friday. Until then, as always, yo, Joe.
Oh.